Hey everybody, what's up? It's Michael Termini with the Game House, and welcome to Hardstuck Gold, the series where bad League of Legends players talk about good League of Legends players. Today I'm joined by two people from the Game House. Would you like to introduce yourselves real quick? Rob
Rocky, go
first,
ahead.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll go. I'll
Okay,
go first.
fair.
Yeah. I'm excited to be here. My name's Brian Rockwood, better known as Brock, at the TGH, the Game House site. I cover Cloud9 during the season, and I have only the most ludicrous takes to give. So I'm excited to get this going.
Yeah, and I'm Robert Haynes, the co-owner of the Game House, and I guess leaky slash rumor boy this this off season. So yeah, I covered TSM. I still cover TSM, but I cover the whole LCS and the LEC. Yep. Two people wearing TSM, and Brock is maybe rocking it. I can't tell if that's black or light
Nah,
or
just
very
plain.
dark blue. That's a dark. That's not dark blue. That you're wearing?
Underneath is a Red Sox shirt, so
Oh, okay.
so
Red
uh,
Sox are in esports. That'd be a great day. But yeah, no. I'm excited to talk about this stuff with you guys. We have a lot of hot takes.
Yeah. I mean, well, today's a really packed episode with all the LCS rumors going on. Literally, like an hour before recording this, Travis just dropped his huge rumor video. So there's a lot of stuff going on in that. And I think probably the biggest is that Team Liquid just not announced, but this is their leaked version of their roster, which is Whippo top, Santorin jungle, Bjergsen mid, Hansama as their ADC, and Core JJ as support. Uh, Rob, let's hear those first impressions.
I mean, it's a good roster. There's no doubt about it. I think Bwipo, it's technically maybe a little bit of a downgrade from Alfari, but that's okay. I think getting Bjergsen, after a year of not playing competitively is going to be interesting as well. And winning the Hans Sama sweepstakes, I mean, this is what Steve does, man. I mean, he just wins those sweepstakes. He brings in somebody because I think this will probably be the most expensive roster in LCS history by
Possible.
a
without a doubt.
pretty
Yeah.
large amount, by the way.
Bjergsen is definitely the most expensive of the bunch. I probably don't think Bwipo was as expensive as a lot of people want to think. He probably still was expensive, but not like we're not talking like $3 million a year sword art level, right? And then Hansama is probably like I would say Bwipo tier of money, probably like 1.52 million.
Actually,
I'd
I'd be
imagine, right?
surprised with that. No,
Really?
I think Han Sama's going to be the second highest paid player on that team
Wow.
by a pretty decent amount. I mean, there were a lot of people who wanted Han Sama.
Above core.
G2,
Isn't like core like
yeah,
at like 2 million a year on TL right now or something, right around there?
I think. Well, you got to remember, bidding wars don't necessarily mean that it's some players better than another one. It just depends on when it's going on. So
True.
there was certainly a bidding war for Han Sama. From the sounds of it, C9 were in on it. I'd have to imagine TSM took a look. EG probably took a look. Uh, Sounds like basically every LEC team like seriously took a look at him. I'm sure Rogue probably made a pretty substantial offer at him too.
What are your
And for
I
thoughts,
good
Rob?
reason,
yeah
right? I mean,
yeah
he was, I don't know, I don't want to say breakout, but I think he had a phenomenal year this past year. And if anyone's going to get a big old contract, I'm happy it's Hans Sama. Um, but in general, this whole team, I think, is actually very good. And obviously, it kind of like screams, all right, we have to do something this year, right? Like, they have to either get out of they have to get out of groups, and then they have to perform well in the bracket stage at Worlds, and that's already how this like roster is looking out to hopefully be. That said, the expectations now are just sky high, and already for NA fans, this is going to be the roster to stare at all year, right? Like they have to not only dominate at the LCS level, then they have to do everything internationally. So that's why I actually do like Bwipo here. I don't think he's as strong as Alfari as a player in general, but Bwipo, as we again have seen this past year, was able to be one of the best players on Fnatic, and not like in two roles almost right, switching from top to jungle. So if there's gonna be a roster to bring Bjerg out of coaching and into playing again, this is probably one of the best ones he can have.
What's also interesting about it is, Team Liquid spending all this money for North American Worlds. I think it's probably a fair guess at this point that there will be at least some in-person element to Worlds next year at the very least. And like, I don't know, man. I just think this is like the year where you see all these LCS teams are going to be spending a lot in an attempt to get one of those 3 spots because it just means so much more with all the attraction of sponsors, with what it's going to bring to the league, and hopefully awareness that it brings to the league in general, and the growing amateur and academy scene.
Well, and I want to quickly point out too, there's not going to be a single player on this team under the age of 22.
Oh my
This will be
God.
the oldest team, which is super young in real life person, but in like esports, the youngest player is going to be Hans Sama. He just turned 22. But Bwipo is going to be 23. Santorin's going to be 24 or 25. Bjergsen's going to be 24 or 25. And CoreJJ is going to be 27 or 28.
He's that? I didn't know he was that old.
Yes, they
Oh my
are.
God.
This will be by far and away the oldest team in either league, and
That's
probably
insane.
almost in any league, honestly. And I think that's worth pointing out because most of them are going to be in their prime or right at the very end of it. I think CoreJJ will specifically be at the very end, not even just because of age. I think he might be somebody who can play till he's 30, but I don't know that he will be that dominant support for a whole lot longer in any other league than maybe the LCS because our supports are
Pretty bad.
suspect.
Yeah. Let's just say how it
I
is.
just want to make sure we talked about that. Yeah, I know. But I think it's a smart move, though, to be honest, because if you're going to go for it, right, you're going to have a ton, and I mean a ton of world's experience on this team. The expectation for this team is no doubt first or second place in the LCS. You can't always say first just because, some team could surprise you a little bit, or maybe
I think
they just have
second
a
is a
bad
disappointment
day.
with this roster.
It is, but I'm just saying, like, their goal is to go to Worlds and perform. It's kind of like what the TSM roster was a little bit for me last year. I didn't really care as much if they won any championships. I'm sure most of the players on this team will feel the same way because they're going to come out rusty. I'm just going to be honest. None of them have played together. I mean, outside of, Santorin and Bjergsen played together a long time ago, right?
That's going to be fun.
That'll be interesting for sure. I don't think Bwipo and Hans Sama have ever played together, to my knowledge. Obviously, Hans Sama and CoreJJ have never played together. So, and it'll really just be Santorin's 2 connections, Bjergsen and CoreJJ. That'll be it. And so it'll take this team probably throughout the entire lock-in tournament, which I'm assuming is still happening because that's what they've said, to really get together. So that is worth discussing. I mean, this is like, people are going to be really upset if they don't go out and win right away. And while every roster is going to be in flux, it seems like, it still seems like teams like 100 Thieves, TSM, and C9, which we'll get to, will technically have as many or more pieces staying as these other ones.
Which is kind of crazy. Do you think Bjerg is going to butt heads at all with the coaching staff, being a former coach now at this point? I don't think that kind of fits his personality. But...
Yeah, I think he's... Well, who is the head coach of TL? I mean, we don't know if it's going to be Cold yet. Hasn't been confirmed. His contract, I'm pretty sure, expires.
I've heard that Cold is a pretty popular target right now. I don't know that he's going to be going anywhere soon. But
we'll get to this eventually, but what about their former coach, Jat? I mean, that's another big coach on the table, possible. I don't know if he wants to return the coaching, but it's something...
I think he's going to go broadcasting, personally.
I hope so, but I would also love to see him coach. He's just, such a interesting person to watch and see how he does. Because he did when he was at TL, he did a pretty good job.
I don't think it was bad.
And sure, Steve Money, Steve Money memes, but I mean, it's interesting. I think also this is a no NA player roster. Like, and it's kind of... I don't mind 1 or 2 LCS teams doing it just because it is kind of dumb fun to see all these superstars on one team, right? It's at the very least, even if it's not good for the league, it's fun to watch. So I don't mind that, but it's going to be no NA players trying to win the NA league to then win NA Worlds.
I mean, would you not consider... I'd consider Bjergsen and Santorin...
No. You know what I mean,
to a certain degree. No,
Yeah,
you're right.
import.
But, I mean,
no
but both of them
natives,
came in at such a super young age that they're basically their entire playing career has been NA.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like how I see Jensen too.
Or
Honestly,
Huhi is another good
Louis,
example.
yep,
And you,
yep.
you can make those arguments, and I wouldn't necessarily disagree, but it's going to be, you're going to see the same memes that you saw for 100 Thieves this year, essentially. No NA wins NA, Keck W in the league chat. So it's going to be fun though, regardless. But I think we kind of got most of our thoughts out about TL. We have a bunch of other teams to get through. Let's talk about TSM. This is not a talking TSM episode. Thank God you're not bored to death yet. But let's
Oh
talk about
my!
TSM. So Hootie and Spica
Killed him.
guaranteed to return, or rather, it seems like are going to return if we trust the head of TSM, Reginald. I'm fine with that. I want both of them to return, and I think they're probably the best players you could get. I mean, find me a better North American top laner than Hoonie, and you're probably not going to find a better NA jungle than Spica, or you're not going to actually. Maybe Blabber, you could argue, but
No, I'm happy they kept Spica the most, honestly. Had a phenomenal summer, right? I think this is kind of someone that they want to be the new head of TSM, or like new face of TSM rather. And yeah, keeping him is obviously the smartest play. It's also just one of the roles that are just the most important when it comes to like I don't know, I guess stability, right, within a team. So love that. I personally am not the biggest fan of Hooney, but he has impressed me this past year. So yeah, great. I'm so good for TSM.
I'm a Hoonie apologist, and I will own it. I love that guy with all my heart. I loved him even on his terrible Dignitas and EG time. Uh, he's just so much fun to watch. There is not a more fun to watch top laner in the LCS, in my opinion. He's just so absolutely unhinged. It's great.
Not anymore.
He was a lot more tame this year.
Reformed Hootie. Which everybody's like, oh, his champ pool's rough, and I'm like, when was that the conversation? They just had a bad draft, but whatever.
His champ pool's massive. It's just what they're willing to put him on. I think was more the issue. Like, I mean, if you look at Hoonie historically, he's played everything from Hecarim top, as the famous Rumble, famous GP. Even though GP's a little bit different now than he was, at that time. With the mini rework he got recently. But like the point is that he has like all these historic picks. And I think it's hard to find a better rock for the top laner, for the top lane for TSM. But this leads the next 3 spots open, which is really interesting. We have the mid, ADC, and support. Obviously, Power of Evil and Sword Art. Sword Art confirmed to leave. Power of Evil I don't think has been confirmed to leave.
Yeah, he said that he's looking for a new.
Oh yeah, no, he did. I forgot about that.
And there's no buyout for him. Yeah, I mean, this team's gonna be interesting. I think Travis put it pretty well when he said that. Spica was pretty beat up about Bjergsen leaving, and I can't blame him, which is why he felt like Tactical was even more likely to go to TSM, and that's the rumor right now. That is what I have personally been told by 2 different sources, was that TSM Tactical seemed pretty likely. I'm not going to go out there and say like, oh yeah, it's for sure happening, but it seems likely. I think the bigger question actually becomes not mid, but what are they going to do in support? Because I think the mid market is pretty big. Yeah, but they have 2 import slots, and I can't see TSM going, yeah, we're going to go 4 NA. Like that just doesn't seem like them, to be honest. I think that they might spend some money for somebody.
Who's up on the market for supports? I think Life is. I'm pretty sure.
Life is.
Mickey?
Yeah, Mickey. Yeah,
they could grab Mickey. I don't know that I personally would like that. But I actually, so I guess we can start at mid. I personally think Humanoid seems very likely for TSM. He's apparently available. I think he wants to get off the team. I've had my personal issues with Humanoid over on Mad, but I do think that if TSM are going to do a, quote, developmental roster, which is what they said, he's still pretty young, Spica's young, and I think the goal here is, and we won't turn this into a Talking TSM episode, but I will say, I think the goal for TSM here is to find a way to build a team around Spica and allow for him to feel like he wants to stay. Because if I'm TSM right now, I'm panicking. You just lost Bjergsen. Spica's not going anywhere because he can't, because he's under contract. and forcing a player basically to stay if he doesn't want to is gonna be a bit of an issue. And like,
Yeah.
if you're telling me right now that TL weren't trying their damnedest to get Spica from TSM to make a roster of Whippo Spica,
Even Blabber,
Bjergsen,
like,
yeah, there were rumors that Blabber was leaving. I was like, dude, that's so dumb. I didn't even put it out there because I was like, that would be the biggest dumb move from C9, in my opinion, that they could possibly do. But
One of the biggest bag fumbles that we've seen sometime.
I mean, it'd be like a butt fumble.
yeah, Sanchez
It'd be a
special.
Mark Sanchez butt fumble.
Unlucky.
But yeah, so I think, Humanoid's young enough to where I think that would be a good pickup. I've also heard from one person, maybe VTO from
Ooh.
Misfits, because
Ooh.
Misfits are apparently kind of blowing up. Now, I will tell you this much. If they go out and they get VTO, that's going to actually excite me way more than Humanoid, because I think that kid not only had a great start to his summer split, I think now with a full split under him, he could be an absolute stud.
And he's pretty young too, right?
He's only like 18 or 19.
Yeah, that's that.
So I think that would be really good, and I think that would excite Spica enough to stay, because I think you put Tactical, one of his best friends, on the team, and you put those two, together basically, plus somebody like a VTO, a Huni top, because I'm pretty sure Spica and Huni are very close, and Huni actually had a good enough split to where I'm fairly confident that he deserves to stay. I think you put that whoever the hell you want to, it's important. It's not going to really matter. That team would not be great maybe in the spring, but by summertime, dude, when that team starts rolling, that's a team with a lot of young talent, and one that I think would actually probably scare TL in most situations, because you give Spica a mid laner that's actually going to do something. No offense, PoE, I love you. You and I are on good terms, but you didn't do a whole lot in lane, my guy.
He's actually listening, and he's very upset. He's very upset.
Hey, he and I have had a lot of great conversations.
He just shot you a DM as we're speaking right now. He's not happy.
That would be awesome.
Friendship ended PoE.
No, I love PoE, and I think it's really sad that he didn't work out on TSM, honestly. But I think if you give Spica a mid laner that's going to do more than wait for the late game, that's going to be willing to move around, which I think Humanoid fits, TO fits, right?
Yeah,
this team could be very, very good.
I think what's the most interesting part about this TSM roster is I don't really think their main roster is going to be as developmental as was led on. I think it's going to be, there might be a couple younger players, but I don't think that's what they really meant by development. I think we're going to see a lot more development out of TSM Academy and TSM Amateur. I think their amateur, they did actually a pretty good job this year, TSMA. And, one of the orgs, I've been saying this all year, every single LCS team should be investing in the decent academy and a decent amateur team over getting some superstar import. It's like, look at the teams that are succeeding with it right now. You have 100 Thieves, who is probably doing the best job recently, C9 more historically, and then you have EG also coming up and contending that. And then you got a couple like outliers, like Dignitas sponsored an amateur team, but they really wasn't Dignitas per se. Not like they had that much hand in creating it.
Mirage,
yeah, it was Dignitas Mirage. Yeah, so they had a partnership with them. But like every team should be doing this, and I think that's kind of the direction we're going to be seeing. And TSM is going to continue that, and I think we're going to see a lot of that, veteran talent that was on that TSM Academy roster, and it already has happened. Like Cody's son, like who was their top laner? Darshan? No, Darshan was C9. Haunser, thank you. You'll see people like that leaving the team, and we'll be seeing a lot of younger players, and that's what I want to be seeing out of TSM more than I care about their main roster. I still think they're going to be a top 5 team, pretty much no matter what. I'd be very shocked if TSM's not that. But that's the direction they're definitely headed. What I think also is interesting is who's their coach. Curry's gone.
Earth.
I can actually tell you guys some recent things that I've been seeing on the TSM subreddit.
I'm going to ask you something real quick. Just confirm if I'm right or wrong. But because you might not know. Is TSM the one trying to buy out Quixote?
I would not be surprised.
Because that is what I would see. Okay. And I think that's a great move for TSM.
I would not be surprised. I think, Brock, I'd love to get your thoughts on Quixote, to be honest. But I think it's C9 or TL. from what it sounds like, they've restructured K's contract, and changed the wording in it. Is apparently the rumor or something that somebody saw. I just saw it on Reddit today, actually, or maybe it was yesterday. I don't know. Brain's been messed up, but yeah. Apparently, he like. So it might be K's because Curry, like you guys said, I think he's looking for like a head coaching job. But I'd have to imagine that TSM would be it, if it was available to him. So there's a lot of stuff apparently going on in the front office. Again, not gonna make this a Talking TSM episode. You can go over there and watch that. I'm gonna do a shameless plug because I did like really go into this coaching staff area. Because I would have thought it was gonna be Curry. I think if Bjergsen stays, I'm 99% sure that their coach ends up being Curry. I think that should have been the first sign that Bjergsen was leaving, was when Curry said that he was leaving. That confused the hell out of me. But yeah, I think K's could be it. I also think Peter Zhang, the TSM Academy coach, he's coached a lot of these players. He's coached Tactical, he's coached Spica. There was rumors of Treats. Now it seems Treats is going somewhere else. But and developmental wise, like he knows how to develop talent. He's developed most of these young AD carries, like you talked about, Johnson. Even Cody's son, like came on and talking TSM about how Peter Zhang was like this amazing coach and how he really inspired him to be better, and like how Peter was basically telling him, hey, like you still have a lot left in the tank. Like you need to really make it, apparent to these teams. Which he did. I mean, he was probably the best player on TSM Academy this entire split. So
we're gonna see a battle of head coaches named Peter, like a fight to the death. Peter Dunn versus Peter Zhang. Be awesome.
There can only be one, right?
Yeah.
You could also get the original Peter Doublelift.
Ooh, wow. That'd be exciting. Maybe he's like the ref in the boxing match. All right. Any more thoughts on TSM?
Actually, I was curious for you guys' thoughts on if this. So, Rob, you said the support might not matter if the rest of the team is pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
If they're a developmental team, do you think they pull up one of their academy supports?
I liked Don Bray a lot. He's got 3 accounts in Challenger, actually.
Wow.
And he's only 18 years old. He had a bit of a rough year on Amateur, but I think that was mostly because of Gorica. His AD carry wasn't all that aggressive. I don't think their styles fit. I don't think Gorica's bad necessarily. I just don't think their styles fit. Excuse me. So, yeah. I mean, I think Don Bray is an option at least for Academy. Apparently, he's available, but somebody's gonna nab him up. Apparently, Chime is available. We'll get into that I'm sure with that, but like. People don't like Chime. I loved Chime. I watched him at Scouting Grounds last year. I thought he was really good. I think he made some pretty good plays with Golden Guardians this year. I think he was pretty underrated.
For sure.
I watched a lot of their games, and I was like, this guy is young. He's learning. I think support's one of the hardest roles to learn in the LCS. I know you're gonna feel differently. I'm talking about to learn and play at a high level.
All right.
Just start off.
I honestly thought Chime looked fine.
I was very shocked. Stixxay, yeah. I wonder if it's
was not great last year, and Chime was. Everybody's like, "Oh, Stixxay's the leader. He's doing everything on this team." I'm like, "Are we just gonna ignore a Blaze Olive? Like, what are you talking about?"
And
like,
and Newbie had a really great proving grounds as well. So I wonder if Stixxay's the issue in that bot lane.
He's been the issue for the last 2 years
on CLG.
And on anything. And it's like, I respect the hell out of him too. He's a nice guy. I've talked with him a couple times. I just think that he has not been able to recapture that lightning that he had. So yeah. So if you're asking me about support, this was what I had said. I'd said any combination of Poom, Chine, Daption, Donbray, and who are my other ones? Vulcan. Those are my 5.
I would simp for Busio, but I'm not going to because
you could simp for Busio. It would make sense to me.
It's not. I think he deserves it, but I think there's also a chance if Poom is going up to the LCS, which there seems to be a chance right now on CLG. We'll get to that later. That he gets promoted to that head spot on the Academy roster for 100 Thieves and just takes another year there, which would also be totally logical. But let's get on the Golden Guardians because we were just talking about them. Golden Guardians is weird right now. it seems like the two big things that they want to build around is Licorice and Blaze Olive. Makes sense. But it seems like everything else is up in the air. 6A, possible to leave. No one really knows yet. And I a couple things on Golden Guardians. One, I cannot believe they dumped Rosethorn in their academy team.
Yeah,
That one
was a shocker.
actually pissed me off. And I'm not. Look, Rosethorn wasn't perfect, but he's a great young talent who I think definitely improved over the year, and I think is going to get snapped up by a team. I was really hoping in an ideal world where they just went development for another year, which I don't think is going to happen as much, that he would get on that roster, but whatever. But the jungle's a really interesting position because you have Contracts and Svenskeren are like the two kind of just fit into a team, and they'll probably do fine junglers on the market right now. And I could honestly see either one going to Golden Guardians.
I mean, I still think Contracts has, like, much like Cody's son, right? A lot left in the tank. I think Contracts showed so much in his small debuts, right? Or his small showings with EG. And I am totally, like, I think it's actually a good idea for GG to go pick up someone like Contracts, someone who's been around for a long time and that can help guide this team when sometimes last year it looked like they were like pretty lost. They didn't feel like they like really meshed at all. So someone like Contracts and Sven, like or Sven Skaren, I should say, would be the most logical. Like I do think someone else, maybe I don't know what the Acadian status is. I think he's a free agent.
He's a free
right? I don't
agent
think
right
he's still
now. He's a free
contracted. Yeah,
agent. And
I think that
Acadian did great last year too. Like genuinely.
I wholeheartedly agree, and I think those three might be some of the safest options you can really go for, especially when um, there is a little bit of like uncertainty about the rest of the roster already. So yeah, Contracts I think is my biggest. I would say go for it, right? Golden Guardians. That this is a player that can really perform. Um, and I'd actually be pretty surprised if Contracts isn't picked up at the end of the free agency kind of period here, or at least changes teams from EG to somewhere else.
For sure. And also like worth noting about Contracts is that at the after EGE dropped out of playoffs, I had an interview with Peter Dunn and he was saying the reason for the roster swaps with Svenskeren and Contracts is that Contracts was performing better. He was doing way better in scrims, apparently. It wasn't like a minor margin. This was quite a significant difference, but felt like Svenskeren earned the spot, which I don't necessarily disagree with, that he like put in a lot of work and deserved to be in some playoff games. But we saw like Contracts just have a couple really great series and a couple also bad ones too. But we saw him really pop off in that regular season and show what he was capable of, even if you could argue that was more due to like the surprise factor that they pulled off versus TSM or stuff like that, or just the meta being like perfect with the Diana and all those aggressive picks. But I digress.
I actually think Svenskeren would be better. I think Contracts, while I like him a lot, I think he's also a much more aggressive jungler. I think he requires more resources, which is why I originally put him on Dignitas, because I thought that fit perfectly because they play mostly for bot lane. Whereas with this team, he's gonna whoever's the jungler is gonna have to support a Blaze Olive. Like Olive has that opportunity to be a top 5, maybe even top 3 mid laner, depending on what comes next. And playing around Licorice too, like you're gonna need somebody who's a little bit more of a supportive role, which Svenskeren fits perfectly, in my opinion.
And they have that
Another
synergy
name,
from playing before too.
exactly. And another name that I think could surprise people is Blabber. If he's actually available, I'm just saying, like, there's rumors that C9 are just blowing it up, right? I
Interesting.
don't think that's gonna happen, but if Golden Guardians isn't gonna go with more developmental, I think they could look at Blabber, and I think he'd actually fit the style pretty well. I think he's less resource heavy than Contracts, just depending on what the team really wants to do. Because I think he can play a more supportive style, but he can also go aggressive when they need to, which is why he's better than both Svenskeren and Contracts. So the last name I'll throw out to you guys too, and one that wasn't brought up in Travis's video at all, was Kenvi.
Yeah, good point.
I mean, he's ready. He's ready right now. So why not go get Kenvi? Like seriously, if you instead of signing somebody like Svenskeren or anything like that, continue your younger team rebuild. And if you had a team of Licorice, Envy, a Blaze Olive, Prismal, and Chime, that's a very good team for the next couple of years.
I love that team actually.
Well,
Yeah.
you just
They're really
mentioned
good.
you just mentioned Prismal too, who we haven't even talked about. Prismal
Stud.
deserves to be on an LCS roster. He deserved to be for the last year or two. And it is insane to me that he hasn't been on one yet. And this is the year where I see really no excuse for Prismal not to be starting on Golden Guardians. To my knowledge, he hasn't been allowed to explore other opportunities yet. I could be wrong on that. So I'm pretty sure they have been,
not.
they've been intending to do something with him, whether it's sell him, whether it's promote him. That's usually a good sign that a team is interested, right? And I would hope that if they do promote someone like Prismal, we do also see another like younger sort of support, because I frankly I don't really want a Vulcan or an Afro Moo on Golden Guardians. Like I want someone like a Chime. I want some of the other supports we named earlier, someone who is like a younger bot lane duo with like a stronger, older, top side of the map,
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I was gonna say that's definitely how you make fireworks in a bot lane, right? You have two younger players that are looking to really prove themselves, and if everyone's already standing at the top side of the map, right? So say in this little scenario, it is like something like Licorice, Blabber, and a Blaze Olive. You know for a fact that Golden Guards is going to be playing for that top side, and they're going to be, and everyone else is going to plan for that, right? They're going to plan for those three to really be the guys to take over that game. That bot lane, man, they can do whatever they want, and they can try to make plays. They can try to do anything. They can really prove themselves to be, the next best thing. The next top like players if they kind of have a little bit more leeway to play. But who knows, honestly? And this is kind of why watching the rest of all season go with Golden Guardians is gonna be so exciting, because who really knows what they are gonna do for that side of the map.
There
I'll
is
tell you one thing they're not going to do.
all right. What? Tell me.
Spend a lot of money.
True.
This is
True.
Yep.
There is one other bot laner while we're talking about it that is a free agent, to my knowledge, or maybe isn't, but has not been talked about, is Turtle. And I know a lot of people are a lot more iffy on Turtle than I am, but I think he looked really good on a shitty CLG team. I don't think he was the weak point at all. His laning stats were fine. His damage was fine. Everything about him was fine on a bad team, which is harder to do.
Yeah.
I'm throwing it out there. I don't think he's going to Golden Guardians. I want to make that clear. But it's a name that we could see if someone is trying a more amateur ADC from Academy. You put Turtle back on an Academy team, and if he's doing bad or tanking, you just swap him up. And that is something I think is possible.
I could see him on an Academy team for sure, but he's 26. I mean, why not go with Tomo or Prismal
I agree.
or Johnson or any of those younger options that even Lost, honestly, Lost played just as well or better than Wild Turtle last year. For as much crap as he got on TSM, like he's honestly a pretty solid player overall and just needs a little bit more time, in my opinion. So I mean, even Sven is without a home right now. I just think there are too many options available for Wild Turtle. I had him initially on one of my rosters, but I'll tell you right now, like these are the 80 carries that I had in the LCS for next year. I'm not gonna say where yet, but FBI, Reckless, Neo, Luger, Annie, Tomo, Prismal, Lost, Sven, and Tactical.
Yeah, I'd say
I do not take Wild
list.
Turtle over any of those.
Yeah. And like I said, it's just something free agent, I believe, that I just think is worth throwing out there, because it is, one of the most popular players in North America and has a pretty good history of performing quite well. We kind of glanced over C9, despite mentioning them a couple times. C9's weird right now, because we had this tweet from Jack, classic,
C9's very weird.
Typical Jack tweet, throwing some fuel on the offseason. Confirming that Bjerg and Hansama would not be joining along with Mickey X. Of course, we know Bjergsen and Hansama are not joining due to the, the Travis Gafford report on the Team Liquid roster. But Mickey X was one that was rumored, and it kind of shows that C9 has two pieces that very easily can move. Fudge, to my knowledge, has not been rumored to move at all. It has been, though, a couple stuff about Blabber and Vulcan. And those are the only two pieces that are left, correct? From that team last year? Yeah, so...
But with Brooks gone and Sven gone...
Yeah, Sven is pretty much guaranteed gone at this point. It's... I don't know. That's another ADC now. So he has to go probably somewhere. And I don't know where.
I mean, of all ADCs, I think Sven is probably going to get scooped up. Purely because he's still mechanically really talented.
Mm-hmm.
The problem would become, he was benched at the start of summer for King, whether it was to provide a spark or maybe it was I don't know. I don't think it was a team cohesion thing. But Vens is too good to not be on a team, especially with all these teams already looking for new bot lanes and new talent, or rather better talent to help their team out. So,
but he is an import.
Spend too much. He is still an import.
And
somehow.
I wonder. I wonder if it's possible when this event goes back to EU.
That is definitely a thing.
Definitely possible.
And that's something that we're thinking too much about, but it's, I could see a world where he, matches up with maybe like Treats on SK or something like that, I'm not saying that's going to happen, of course, but, one of those
Mad Lions
lower genuinely, yeah.
Mad.
What about Rogue even? Rogue doesn't have a new ADC yet. They might have had something rumored that I didn't see, but I'm pretty sure they haven't. Obviously, G2 has the guy from Mad Lions, Flacked. So we got all these bigger name AD carries that are on the table. I think actually AD carry is probably the position that is most questionable this year, honestly, because Reckless? I just think there's so many. Yeah, Reckless as well. There's so many great ADCs up on the market. To an extent that I really, in previous years, at least in ones that I remember, hasn't really felt like it's been a thing.
I agree, but I also think it's the two positions, the skill positions. Mid, there's a lot of changes going to be happening in mid. Brock, I need to know your thoughts on Jensen's potential return.
Man,
if it could happen or not.
The more I think about it, the more I think it becomes more and more likely that it could happen. Obviously familiarity with the org. He would be less of. It feels so weird because Jensen is a good player, and we've had this conversation a ton, off this podcast in various other channels. And while we may not think that, or I shouldn't speak for everybody, I personally don't think Jensen is, a world beater when it comes to mid laners. I do think he would fit perfectly for a different vibe of Cloud9, where they can have less of these split push perks and more of the team fighting Jensen and kind of a more controlled mid laner where he can play carry characters when he needs to, but more likely than not, they're gonna have him play more controlling mages, slower mages, late game scaling mages, and then have Blabber and Fudge try to do the main carrying for the team.
Yeah.
Would they still want to try that? I don't know. I don't know if C9's direction is going to go that way. And to what I remember, there's no burn bridges at all between the two. I could be. At least I don't remember.
Nobody really knows.
I think that was mostly hyped up narrative. I think
so too.
Yeah.
Because they sat both him and Sneaky, and apparently they were both pretty upset about it. But Sneaky's still technically with the org. And I think Jensen just wanted to change a pace when he went to TL, honestly.
And there's a difference between being upset about something in the moment too, right? Yeah. If you get benched, of course you're gonna be upset, right? No.
Yeah, you're a competitor.
Yeah, man. You're a competitor. So you're gonna be mad. You're gonna maybe say something. Voice crack. You're gonna maybe say something you didn't mean. And sorry, I'm young. You guys are fucking old out here.
Good.
Sorry. I'll bleep it. I got you. But yeah.
I do think Jensen could find his way back. Maybe it goes back to Incarnation. Who knows, right?
Oh wow,
that would be hilarious.
But no, the C9 mid lane question is kind of uh, up in the air because already with the rumors swirling around in the offseason, people were thinking Bjerg. Jack comes out and says, no, it's not. I think, I don't know. I might just been you, Rob, or maybe someone else talking.
Well,
Kind of
Travis
like
said
off
that
the cuff,
like
like
C9 really
humanoid.
thought they were gonna get Bjerg, but then something fell
Just
through.
one more better offer from TL.
Jack threw an extra
Uh,
two.
Classic.
Jack. Steve threw an extra 2 million on top. Chop
hey,
change.
he's gonna have 10 money guns this year in their video.
I hope so. But I am not too sure who Cloud9 would actually end up picking up because I think that the Jack tweet also says, they're going in a different direction with their kind of like building. I do
Yeah.
like personally, I do think it still stays as Fudge Blabber Vulcan, and then they look to either like import in the other two, right? It's like so like maybe an EU mid. Um, no idea what they're kind of hoping for if they're switching up ADC. So
What about
Cloud9's
Jizuke?
kind of in a weird spot.
No.
Jizuke would be interesting, but probably not.
I would agree,
Well,
probably not. But I mean, like, so if they have 2 import slots, I mean, he's a solid EU mid on the market.
it's not a bad idea, but I do want to say I think this is worth pointing out. So there's a couple things that I think we've got to look at. So one of the things I've seen is a couple different people, Cadril, Wooloo, some others have pointed out that like it's going to be a sad year for the LEC. They're going to lose a lot of players apparently, right?
Yep.
I also think it's interesting that both C9 and TSM have said that they are going in a more developmental type, different direction than what they have gone in the past, where they just go out and spend unreal amounts of money. It may be worth pointing out, guys, that everybody just feels like they can't compete with TL and that they're just going to try to build for the point where TL is not good anymore.
Do you think that they're going to, in the year North America hosts Worlds, do all developmental and possibly risk that? I find that
Yeah,
being
I mean, why not?
unlikely.
I mean, listen, like, here's the deal. You have to have new stars, right? What was the whole thing about the LCS last year at the beginning of the year? They were showing Tactical. They were showing Spica, right? They were showing
And
FBI. They were showing all these new young players because they're trying to rebuild the branding that they had. I mean, I made this argument on the Talking TSM Discord the other day. I got flamed a little bit for it, which is fine, but like when people were watching the LCS the most was when there were players that they connected with. And with
yes,
all these teams moving players and stuff, right? This may be the last big major movement of teams for a while because a lot of them have realized that like their brands suffer when they don't have those star players to keep around, which is why I've been saying TSM needs to throw the largest amount of contract and money that they can to Spica, if for no other reason than just the branding.
yeah.
I think most of these teams are going to do the same thing. I mean, almost all of them. There's not a single team that I have heard about that isn't building around some sort of young core.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, literally every team except for Team Liquid right now in the LCS is building around a young core, right? 100 Thieves, they took all those young Golden Guardians players. That's a young core.
And they have a great academy and amateur infrastructure too. Yeah.
C9's done the same thing. Ignitas, right? Like Neo, I think is their young core. Apparently, they think Fake God is.
I can't fathom the Fake God thing. I cannot understand it. We'll get to that eventually. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I mean, if Luger and Poom go up to CLG, that's a great young core to build around. Danny, JoJo, maybe Kenvi, maybe for CLG, the Takui stuff that we're hearing about, an NXI or Nixie.
It's NXI.
Xerxes and Revenge is an NXI.
Yeah,
I
it's
was
NXI
Nixie for some reason, but yeah, I mean Revenge and Xerxes, Licorice, Blaze Olive, right? Spica, Hooney, like. Hooney's not really a young core, but everybody is building around. But like my point is like somebody on the TSM Reddit was like, oh, there's so many moves, like there's no way that's gonna happen. Like no, almost every team except for 100 Thieves basically is gonna make at least 2 to 3 changes this year, the most that I think we've ever seen. And I think Travis's stuff says that, and I think it's worth us discussing. Like all these teams potentially going more developmental. I think they see that it's a cheaper, more sustainable path than what these guys have been doing, where they're just throwing out ungodly amounts of money for the LCS currently as it stands, and they're not finding results. This year was the best year that LCS has had at Worlds though in a while. I will say that.
Yeah.
Their second week was pretty outstanding. They were really close to having all 3 teams make it through. They were each 1 game away, right? And while C9 shat the bed pretty hard in their Gen G loss, I think that was that they just had a bad day. I think that roster should have performed way better than that.
I can't believe I wasted $100 on a Perks jersey. Worst decision of my life, man. Worst decision of my life.
because we can remember him being here.
Yeah,
I'm just glad he came over. I have one too. I have one literally like. Right
yeah, but like I bought that and then it arrived after they were eliminated, and I'm like, man.
Yeah. I mean, I really want to get your guys' thoughts because like we still have some rosters to go over, but I think this is a good point to talk about. Like, if C9 and TSM are technically rebuilding, like that's pretty significant in my opinion.
I mean, I don't disagree. I think you're sick of I think a lot of teams are sick of buying, their NA talent from C9 or buying their NA talent from Golden Guardians or buying
that's another big use of money, dude.
They're spending a lot to try to get those NA players to slot the better NA players to slot in with imports. And I think you're seeing certain teams say enough is enough. And that's why I think we see like contention over people like Gihoto at Immortals who are trying to build this infrastructure, who are trying to do these, 2, 3, 4 year plans to get their teams back to glory. Like, I think that is why we're seeing that. I agree with you. I don't think it's shocking. But what I will say is that if teams are going to be doing that, and still the majority of LCS teams, at least this year, did not have amateur teams and were hosting a bunch of, I don't want to say washed up because that's so mean. Washed up is like the most mean term, honestly.
It's pretty mean.
But man, you know how much work those people still put in, and I feel like it diminishes it in the sense, even when I'm flaming people like Fake God. But I digress. It's the they're still hosting a bunch of these older players in the academy and amateur system. So I ask then. You can't turn that all around in 1 year. And what you can do is then build that infrastructure this year while still hosting a more competitive, importy roster, this year. I think that is what we're more likely going to see. And yeah, they might build around 1 or 2 NA players in that group, but I still think they're going to be spending a lot on imports and a lot on these bigger players. And especially because we've seen even so many of the import moves fail. Like Jose Diodo was a lot of money for Fly, that failed. Like Perks failed, Sword Art failed. You can argue the Perks thing, but they went 2 and 4 in groups, man. Like I mean, it's not like this C9 team was, even though they made it out, it's not like this C9 team was the best NA team. I don't think they were. I genuinely think.
Agree. No.
I think you put any other NA team in that group and they make it out, right? Like I think if you put NA in the Fnatic group, they make it out. And so that's what I'm trying to say is like, I think we'll see less of the dumb amount of money moves like Sword Art and Perks, but I think we're going to still see a lot of, for this year, spending money on main and then spending less on the other stuff and building that infrastructure.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think this is definitely, a lot of teams see this as the last year. I mean, we already see this with TL saying this might be our go button, right? This could be our last shot to try to. I shouldn't say last shot because I don't know how long the contracts are, but this is our like final, or at least our most newest push to try to get far into Worlds and really compete and really dominate on an international level. For the rest of the LCS, like I know you guys are probably as frustrated as I am, but we just need more of the academy talent to really have a shot and really be built up and really have the resources poured into them, so that way they can like have more than just like 1 week of LCS games and be like, well, you went 0-3, maybe next year, right? Like I did enjoy seeing at the end of the year we saw a lot more academy, like the full academy roster come up. I think that was
FlyQuest, yeah, and they went 3-0 their first week, and you could argue that's due to the surprising teams, but still, yeah.
And sometimes I don't know, I don't really buy into the, oh, we weren't ready for their tape. Like, we didn't have tape on them. We couldn't really prep correctly
Yeah,
for
they
a
have
lot of
academy
players
teams for that.
because they're streamed.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's ego.
yeah. But yeah, like giving these players more of a shot, and we're getting there. But LCK, LPL, even LEC, they are so far ahead that LCS is going to take a couple of years now to really reach that same type of pipeline of talent to the professional level. Um, so hey, I'm hoping that even though some teams will pay out a lot for NA talent, that's for the cream of the crop. At least it's going from someone who was probably an academy, right? And then they busted their butt and they earned it, and I like that's fine. That's still helping the cause of building up academy teams and academy players.
What do you think about the approach of like Team Liquid Academy? And this is something that when I did that Academy Prospects video, I got some trash for. Is like, whoa, Team Liquid Academy won the split, and then they made it to the finals in Proving Grounds, and yet you didn't have a single player. And it's because you see teams like Team Liquid Academy, even though they put a lot of money into it, and it's not just money, it's getting those younger players and frankly North American players. That team was almost all Osh. And you have Spot as the head coach, so I mean he brought over a couple of Osh players. Don't mind that. But it's like you see like teams like that and they're just built to win academy. That's not yeah, it's Yeon. It's their ADC.
It's Yeon.
Yeah.
It's Yeon.
Yeon, or yeah, I guess that's how you say it. But like the point is, like you have this.
He corrected me when I interviewed him. So
all right, thank you. Okay. But the point is, though, you have this team that is just built to win, not to develop, not to do any of that, and I want to see less of that. That pisses me off. And I'm not calling the players trash. Like I think Jenkins is very good, right? I think Armeo is a pretty damn good player. I don't want to see that again, and that's something that I think it also needs to be improved on a lot. Sorry about the cut. We're back, and 100 Thieves is the next team we're going to be talking about. I think they're probably, in terms of roster changes, one of the least interesting teams because their core is still really good and is still relatively young, and frankly, I don't see them moving on from any player except Sunday. And that seems to be where the rumor mill is right now, with them possibly doing a 6-man roster with Tenacity or just flat out replacing Someday with Tenacity. Seems like no decision has been made in that regard, but what are your thoughts on the 6-man roster or just possibly swapping him in?
I think they should just sell Someday if they're not going to play him. I think he deserves it. I think they owe him that, at least considering how much he has done for this team, to be honest with you. And I think if Tenacity is that god tier, which it seems to be in terms of NA talent, that he is like the cream of the crop right now, then I would say that you sell Someday. I had him going to Dignitas. I think that'd be a really cool place for him because I have to think that military service is coming up for him soon. I would say maybe 2 years from now. And I think if you're going to put in Tenacity, then you need to just do it now. Like it would be a crime for 100 Thieves to not put Tenacity and Kenby up or allow them to go somewhere. Like I think that they would be doing the biggest disservice to the LCS of any team. I don't even care how good they are. I don't care that Team Liquid is spending all this money. These two players are ready to go. Poom is ready to go. Luger is ready to go. Sorry, Ryoma. You had your chance. It didn't work out as well as you had hoped. I'm glad that Papa Smithy loves you so much. I'm sure you'll get to stay on Academy again this year. But, I mean, no, the moves need to be made today.
I think he should go back to NA Academy, also known as Osh.
He might, honestly.
Actually, that's not a bad idea. Just go back there, stomp a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like, I could
probably
totally
would. He'd probably be the best player there.
I could see him slotting on, like, Legacy or, Peace or some other, top team there easily. Like, I don't see why not. He's a solid player. He's not bad. But that's definitely a possibility in that he just goes back to Osh. But, like, honestly, like, the 100 Thieves roster's pretty boring this year in terms of off-season rumors. I think what's going to be more interesting is what they do in Academy, like you said, with promotion and what they allow. the issue is with a lot of these 100 Thieves players is that they are signed through this year. There's neither Kenvi or Tenacity are free agents. I'm pretty sure Tenacity, one of them signed through 2023 and the other's 2022. I forget which one.
2022 for Kenvi, and I think 2023 for Tenacity.
Thank you.
If I remember correctly.
So they're signed through. So at the end of the day, it's not really their decision. It's what Papa Smithy essentially wants to do, and I think he's going to do what's considered the right thing. And I don't see a world specifically where they hold on to Kenvi. I see a world where they can justify Tenacity another year in Academy or splitting time. I do not see a world in which they hold on to Kenvi. And Luger.
Yeah.
For that money.
I think they definitely give Tenacity playtime this year.
Mm-hmm.
I would even say it's probably going to end up being 60-40 when all dust is settled. I think Tenacity is quote unquote like their future at top lane, right? I do think that someday we'll probably end up going probably another LCS team and just as their just signing of a veteran that is able to hold their own, right? Will always be maybe not a top 3 player, but will be a top 5 player most likely. This past season was kind of rough for someday, but I'm not sold that that's really his ability to play still. I'm confident he can still play.
And he looked all right at Worlds. He didn't look amazing, but he didn't look bad. And
he never got resources.
Yeah,
ever.
He's peak
after
weak
getting
side
resources for like 3 years straight. I mean, I don't blame him at all. I think he struggled because everybody else had, this meshing already. I think the reason he looked better in summer was because Abadaga came in and didn't have, that already, I don't know, that connection with the rest of the team like Demonte had. Still big shame on Demonte, but
I still feel sad about that.
Yeah, and Abadaga had karma for the first like 3 games, right? So
yeah,
someone has to play a real character.
Yeah, I mean he was great. I'm really glad that he got to show off his skills this year.
Yes. Yeah,
he's a good player. I think he might surprise everybody and be a top 3 mid laner pretty quickly. Even with Bjergsen coming back.
I mean, you could argue he already was. Even and
no,
the only one that
I
would
think
dethrone him is Bjergsen, really. And with Jizuke gone too, maybe. I mean, that opens up a slot for him too.
There's no way Jizuke.
I think Jizuke, he could go back to EU. He could easily go back to EU and get a spot.
Well, I think with somebody who we're going to talk about, in my opinion, with Immortals leaving a certain red team from the LEC, I could see Jizuke making his way there. But that's for another day. Strawless. I saw Brock wondering. He's like, wait, which red team?
All right, well, do you want to talk about Immortals then?
Yeah, let's do it. So apparently Destiny, Xerxes, and Revenge are staying. That was my prediction as well. Destiny was actually way better than people thought. He was actually one of the best vision score players in the league last year. Raze looked way better because Destiny was so good. I don't know about Revenge staying. Xerxes looked fine, but he's kind of one of those players that he plays champions to death. And if you ban them out, then he's a lot more vulnerable. But my prediction for them was Magi Felix and Lost. Magi Felix is available. And I think he's going to come to NA, get his bag, right? Because he had to wait forever to even get a chance. And he looked really good. And I actually would not be surprised. While I personally think Insanity is very underrated, I think you put in Magi Felix on this roster, that could be a very good roster. At least a dark horse for playoffs. I still have major questions around Revenge specifically. But I think if he has a little more time to develop, there's a chance that he could be a top 5 top laner. That's an outside chance, but it's a chance.
I feel the same way about Revenge. I think Revenge he has a lot of ability, right, to get there. I think we just didn't see it quite yet. I think this year is prime for his breakout. I mean, I think, well, is it literally game 1 like week 1, he solo kills Alfari against TL.
Yep.
Right? Like I don't. There's a lot of players in the LCS that couldn't do that. So I do like this. This Immortal team really surprised me in summer. They really had a great bounce back campaign. I totally agree with this Destiny. I think Destiny was like one of the best, like, I call them hook supports, like Thresh.
Yep.
Fresh Knot, yeah,
Yeah,
Blitz.
he was phenomenal, especially on Thresh in general, and I think it does. It stinks that Raze is. I think he is officially a free agent now, or at least he's LFT.
Yes.
Um, the OCE duo is gone, but I think that might end up being for the best for Immortals. As much as it hurts to say, I think your shot at Lost joining this, like if he does, I think that would be like a
I think that's a
pretty
good
exciting
move.
pickup. Yeah.
Yeah, I would not disagree with that. Lost would be a great pick. Honestly, I love that they're keeping Revenge. Maybe I'm in the minority on that. I thought Revenge actually looked really great last year, and I really thought he grew over the year as a player. And in
Yeah.
terms of keeping Xerxes, I'm totally on board with that. If there were two players I would keep from that roster, it would have been those two. And then I probably would have done Destiny over anyone else. I think Insanity was fine. I think he was serviceable, but I think he's been fine and serviceable for the last 2 years. And
Yeah. He's a
I,
6. He's like going to be consistently the 6th best mid laner.
yeah,
Like I don't know
and
that he'll ever get worse or better than that.
but
But
that's not, yeah. And the issue is with that is that I don't think that's the direction they want to go.
yeah,
As
okay. And I knew you were going to
Uh,
bring that up. Did you look at their academy roster? Everybody's talking about Kyoto.
it's pretty. It's pretty. Is
No,
there?
it's all old players.
I know.
Hyper,
That's
Onda, Pretty,
I'm aware.
Heath, Joey. It's older than most LCS
I
rosters.
know.
What
Yeah.
is the point of him being like, oh, we're going to create this culture and be this new team when that's your roster? I've been saying this since literally day one when I saw their academy roster. I mean,
Yeah, when they redid it in the summer after Proving Grounds, it was interesting to say the
it was
least.
better.
I think the reason specifically they signed the one I will justify is Viper is I could see a world where if Revenge just bombed the summer, you could justify it.
yeah.
And that's the only one I think I was like, all right, I can understand the mindset on, because Viper did such a great job in Proving Grounds. Onda is the other one, right? For jungle. That one.
Pretty was the biggest question to me.
Well,
I don't know what that one was about.
Well, when they moved up Pretty for Insanity, that was really weird. The thing is about Pretty, is that he has never played on the top tier of any region. He never played in the LEC. He only stuck around the minor leagues there. He never played in the LCS until that game, and he's been playing for about 4 years straight, I think right?
I think Yoto owed him something.
Yeah, and maybe he has blackmail. Maybe he has something that we're not aware of. Maybe it's like the Ryoma situation, right? Something with mid laners.
Yeah, that one
GMs.
has to be.
I don't know what he got. I don't know if he's hacked into the guy's iCloud, but like there's something there, and I'm happy Pretty got the opportunity. I still think Pretty's a good mid laner. I really do. I put him on my prospect list because I really think he performed, and I think he deserves a shot, or I would like to see him. I don't know if this year's the year. I don't know if it's in the LCS. I could see him like maybe going in Ocean, starting a mid lane there, and I think that's fine. That's still top tier for a region.
I don't know why he doesn't go to Turkey. I mean,
Turkey or Osh, man. Those are like the two options if you want English speaking countries, because there's a lot of English speaking people in Turkey. That's that. Those are your options, and I don't know, man. This roster's weird. I would love to see Lost though. That would be awesome. I would love to see Lost.
I'm glad that you guys agree. I felt like I was weird for putting him there for a second, but then I was like, no, this would make so much sense. He's still very young. He's not even 21 years old yet, I don't think.
Of the options of places he could land, that one to me makes the most sense.
I in general didn't think Lost played poorly this year.
They just didn't give him any resources.
I think that's what it really boiled down to. And the other problem that kind of loomed over his head always was the narrative that, if he didn't play well, it's all right. We have Cody's son, right? Like he could just slot right back in. He's got LCS experience. He's still pretty good, right? And no problem, no harm, no foul. That we take the game belong to loss.
And Cody's son said that was the case. By the way, he confirmed that that's what they told him and Hanser. Is that they were there for Huni and
the Hanser one was obvious. Yeah, I think that was the Huni coin flip.
Helps with branding. No, you gotta remember too. Like Hanser, was actually in a ton of TSM branding too. I think they're saying Hanser has a chance to get signed somewhere. I think that was what Travis said today. But sorry, quick side note. I don't see why he wasn't. He was good in Academy, but he wasn't even great in Academy.
But he had that decent pentakill.
Great. Cody's son could have had 5, dude. I'm not even saying it just because Cody's son and I are acquaintances at this point, but it's dude, he was actually probably one of the best spot laners. Talking about players who deserve to come up. I don't know. Sorry, we're off topic.
No, you're good. I'm still surprised Cody didn't find a place in the LCS last year.
I don't think he's going to this year.
I don't think he's going to either.
It's a huge shame. I think it's a huge shame.
He has one of the most interesting histories. That after that clutch run, I really thought wow, this is one of the next upcoming players. And that one crappy year on 100 Thieves was all it took. And
it wasn't even his fault.
And that 100 Thieves roster was so oh god, it did it again. So bad. That was an awful roster. So I can't blame him, and I feel bad for him, and I think he's just one of these players that is just if he was the same exact skill set but 19 or he just had a different name, if you could transfer everything about him into a robot body and he's all right, my new tag is whatever, people would be like, oh my god, this guy's insane, we gotta sign him immediately.
What if they renamed him? They renamed his son Cody.
Oh, what if they named him Cody S they instead of SUN?
Cody
SON.
Son of Cody.
Yeah, the son of Cody.
That would be. Wow. I hope that he has a child that gets to play in the LCS one day, and that's his. Oh,
that would be so hype, actually.
No, it's just Cody's son, just apostrophe S. Son.
So we have the first ever player. With
what if Kobe? What if Kobe as a kid, and then he's Kobe's son?
That would be dope. I'd be fine. I'd be fine with that, dude. Sorry to distract us, but yeah,
no, it's fine.
Immortals roster, I think, is a super interesting one, and especially if Gihoto, if he's gone,
that roster goes down the toilet if he's gone.
It could be very quickly going down. I don't know though.
And here's the thing, also, I have zero faith in the Immortals upper management.
They're a Midwest company now, though, bro. Come on.
Big Great Lakes company.
I have zero faith in them.
Well, I mean, they
being a top tier
to
team.
Detroit, of all the Midwest cities to go to.
Yeah, you have to be with the Lions.
Detroit?
Disgusting. What are they? 0-8 now?
Not saying that Cincinnati could be better, but
Cincinnati would be better. I actually think Columbus would have been their best choice, to be completely honest with you. I think Columbus or St. Louis. Chicago? I don't know. That's a pretty big city. I don't know.
Never heard of it.
Somebody said that the servers for League of Legends are in Chicago.
I heard that's where Lollapalooza is. That's the only thing it's known for, right?
And Bears, Cubs. That's the reason why they're Immortals. They don't have any name to do with a bear.
Ah.
You can't have a team and they don't have a bee. Like the Blackhawks, they hunted bears. So
bear related. All right.
Bear related.
Fair enough.
You could say it's barely related.
Ha!
Oh, sorry, I love that pun.
And but Detroit
next team,
Lions and the Lions and Tigers. Immortals hunted lions and tigers
and bears. Oh my!
I feel like we're on to something here.
We are.
What's our next team?
Let's talk about CLG. Counter Logic Gaming.
Truly Counter Logic Gaming.
Now, I mentioned this briefly when we were discussing before the show, but one of my hot takes that I have nothing to back it on, and it's completely stupid, is that I could see a world where Jat is the new coach of CLG.
I think that's a terrible take only because of the money situation that they are apparently not going to spend. And Jat has going to have way more offers than CLG.
I don't disagree with that, but if I could
TSM
I
Jat
see
could
him
be a real
coaching a
thing.
team, if I see him coaching a team, I don't see him going to TSM. That would be funny though. It would be very funny. But if I could see him like coaching anywhere, assuming he wants to coach, CLG is the team.
Oh, they already have a head coach.
Do they?
Yeah.
No, they don't. They have a GM.
Yes, they do. No, I just
They
got
signed
linked
a
this
guy?
the other day. Let me make sure I find this on Talking TSM Discord. Somebody.
If they signed
Somebody
someone,
linked
I'm
this
not
to me.
aware of it. Then I stand corrected. But I'm
I
pretty
think somebody
sure they
linked this
didn't.
to me. Yeah, Kim Dynasty.
Kim Dynasty's their GM, bro. GM's
No,
not
it's
Jonathan
not.
McDonald. No.
No,
Kim Dynasty's the no. He's not the GM. He's the president. He's the president now. Kim Dynasty was the guy from Evil
Oh,
Geniuses.
yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
he helped do the
Sorry,
EG
sorry.
rebuild and also did 100 Thieves in the past.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. So they don't have a head coach.
They don't have a head coach. They have then the GM is Jonathan McDaniel or whatever the heck. I think he's the GM. Yeah, and
I like that signing.
that's a great signing. But like, so you have like these people, and I don't know, man. Like, what if you keep Broxa, you reunite Jat and I'm on Copio. I want this to be true.
Alright.
I want this to be
Hear it
true.
out.
I think
but
Broxa's sadly out of all the leagues. I actually kind of hope that he goes to be a broadcaster.
he would be
coach.
great on
I think he-
broadcaster coach. Yeah,
I think he would be an incredible coach.
Maybe probe coach for CLG. Who knows?
maybe.
I mean, I wouldn't be against it. From what it sounds like, they're only keeping Finn, and even that's up in the air. I think Finn deserves the chance. I don't think he was actually that bad last year. I think he had some pretty good games on a pretty bad team. I'm still surprised at how bad that team was, to be honest with you.
I saw that roster at the beginning of the year, and I was actually really excited for it because I was like,
I
man,
picked them 6th.
yeah, I was
I
like,
picked
look,
them 6th at the beginning of the year.
look at all these players that I know have done well in the past. I know what they can do, and I think yeah, two of the players like Broxa really turned around his year last year. In like the second half of the split on TL, you saw Turtle come off an incredible split on FlyQuest. The only one that I hated the entire time was Smoothie.
But he actually played really
Really?
well.
Yeah,
this
he
summer.
played pretty good. Going into the year,
Smoothie was not good. I mean, the year before.
yeah, that's what I was saying. So I was like, Smoothie like inted that CLG split, and then they're like, all right, we're keeping Smoothie of everyone to keep, and I'm just like, what?
Apparently, he was the
Why?
in-game leader. Was their reasoning?
Man, okay, but you have Broxa now, bro. Like that was the issue. And with God, I hate the flame, but Tafo, man, Tafo gone is the best thing for CLG ever. I'm so happy he's
Easily.
gone. I'm
Well,
so,
that whole organization, they were either. I had been telling. So I had one person reach out to me about how they were trying to get some money together to buy a team in some league,
Mhm.
and I straight up said, get money together and buy CLG spot. Just buy that team. Because they've done nothing. They have done nothing since they have franchised. They've only gone downhill, and they continuously are signing terrible teams.
terrible
I think-
academy teams too.
Oh god, their academy teams have been
Awful.
I mean, I think the one thing I'm very excited that they have realized, because I'm sure Riot Games probably reached out to them, were like, hey, if you do not get it together, we will actually kick you out of this league because you're one. I mean, and they had that really great like 2019 summer, right? When they were going in and they were playing TSM, they were tied, or was it 2020? Yeah, it was 2020 even. Yep, they were tied with. I'm pretty sure it was the 2020 summer. when
No,
they were,
I
like,
think it was
4-2.
2019.
No, I think they were 4-2. Somebody look it up.
All right.
I'm
but
trying to look it up on Liquid.
they were like 4-2 or something, and they go in and they play TSM, and TSM just absolutely stomps them. I mean, it was not a very close game, and then I think they only won like 2 games after that. So ever since then, they just haven't done. It just has felt like
They've been treading
people
water.
running that organized. Well, yeah. They just haven't. They've literally been like, we're gonna keep our head at the level of water so that we don't get kicked out. And I even think last year they actually tried to spend money to
They
get
did.
a team that wouldn't finish.
I'm pretty sure they were the team that spent like the 4th most or something, 4th or 5th most, which is just embarrassing.
Well, you gotta remember they had to buy out Finn from Rogue.
I know.
They did.
People forget that. Like that was not like a free agent signing. I'm
And
pretty
I don't
sure.
think
I'm almost certain.
Broxa was cheap either. Like, I'm sure he had EU offers, actually. Like, I don't doubt that he did. Like, Turtle probably was not too bad. Smoothie obviously wasn't too bad. And then I don't think Pobelter, they had to buy him out of the TL coaching staff. But other than that,
pretty cheap.
yeah, like, and like it's not that big of a deal.
CLG finished 3rd in 2019 summer.
All right,
Okay, so
yeah.
that's what
And that was the Ruin Wiggly PoE 6A Biofrost team. And then 2020 it was Wiggly and Stix-A and Smoothie.
Yeah, when they were switching, oh god, Ruin and Wiggly, like when they were just like
I actually don't think
doing
Ruin
those
was
swaps.
that bad either. That team really hurt him. I think he had some pretty good plays and then he got screwed. But regardless.
Yeah.
What's our next team?
Well, yeah, the point is CLG needs a purge. They need like new players everywhere besides top and jungle, right?
Yeah, we haven't
maybe jungle, but top for sure. Is like the only one to keep.
We have not said anything about this team
because there's nothing to say.
The last thing we'll say positive about CLG is I really did enjoy the early game of every game because it actually looked like they knew what they were doing, and it makes me think that the game plan was all right. Let's just try to win the first 5 minutes, and then it was just then the whole house of cards fell down.
Yeah.
No other thoughts or ideas as to what to do next.
And
it's very obvious.
I will also give them the credit of when they were putting in the extra hours every week. That was pretty widely reported on. Like the team obviously was trying. Like I don't think it was like a lack of effort or anything. It just didn't work out.
There's no synergy.
Yeah,
I felt there was no synergy. Talking about players that they could pick up though. I please give myself just one pat on the back.
You can have the Luger Plume circle jerk, yeah.
Oh, come on. Listen, this was so freaking out of nowhere. I don't talk to Travis, okay? I don't know anybody on CLG. Nobody talks to CLG about League of Legends, okay? I'm telling you right now, like, nobody ever talks to them. Nobody knows what their roster is. Put your freaking headphones.
It's all right. I'll relay the message when you're good.
God.
Rob,
all I'm going to say is I got really lucky. I picked Luger and Poon. It just made sense.
You were correct.
With their new GM. And if that ends up being the case, that will be my only call to fame for the entire offseason.
I'll buy you a trophy that says you got Luger Poon correct.
Come on.
You can put it on your wall.
Admit, that was
no, it's a good prediction.
No,
it's a good prediction.
You did it.
That one, I'll be honest with you,
man.
that was actually they were actually like my second editions. I had Wild Turtle staying initially with
Let's
Poon.
go.
Wow. Then I was like, but Luger and Poon played well together, so they could come back. So I still have Power of Evil to them. I think that one would make a ton of sense.
If Power of Evil's going anywhere, CLG seems the most likely, correct?
Yeah, and I don't think they're going to have to pay him a ton. I don't think he's going to be in high demand. I could also see Jizuke going there.
Maybe go dig too. Power of Evil could also maybe go dig the toss. That's the only other option.
Yeah, I think they're going to go younger.
I agree, but
Okay.
All right, so CLG down. Thank God.
I had actually a lot of time to talk about them. I'm kind of surprised.
Let's talk about Evil Geniuses.
There's a lot to say always about CLG.
There's EG though. EG is weird.
Yeah,
very
let
weird.
Me start with this, by the way. I've heard a lot of rumors. I mean, a lot of rumors this offseason. And this is not like I talk to people, I read all the rumors out there. I try to stay up on Reddit. I've read and heard a lot of rumors. EG is like not even at the freaking watering hole, it feels like right now. It almost feels like truly they're going for Chovy or bust. I'm being very serious right now. Well, I almost feel like that's what they're
Didn't they push hard last year too? For
no, it was 2019. 2019 they pushed hard. No, it was 2020 season. Sorry,
it was 2020. Yeah,
yeah. I said 19.
I have heard that if they don't get Chovy, they go with a young team.
Joe.
Yes,
that's what Apple was reporting on too.
Yes, which Apple may actually be joining Gamehouse soon. So, actually he is. But
you're linking it.
Breaking. But yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know about this roster. I know that you covered them, Mike. I know you've gotten good relations with them.
We'll talk
I
about
don't
the
know
good
what they're
relations
gonna do.
later. Um,
Oh no! What'd you do?
we'll talk about it later. It's factor
That's
stuff. It's factor stuff.
That's the next episode.
Yeah, next episode, how I ruined my relationship with with EG. No, I'm kidding. I mean, it's just the factor side. And I don't even think it's ruined. I just, we had a bit of a disagreement. That's fine though.
Love that.
It's okay, dude. I got the connections. Peter Dunn always accepts my interview requests. It's great. Maybe I'll get him on Hardstuck Gold because he's apparently like gold elo. Did you know that he's not a high rank in league? There's your fun fact for the day.
One of us.
Yeah, he's one of us awful players.
In the LCS.
I'm kidding. He's probably not bad. He probably just doesn't have time to play. Honestly, that's more than likely the reason.
What it is.
But like memes aside, though, like I genuinely hope we see a young roster out of EG. Chovy would be fun. I mean, I can't say young. I can't say I wouldn't want it because I do want Chovy in a sense because it would be so stupid to watch. I would have so much fun watching it. I could get Chovy on an interview. It'd be great. It would be so much fun. But is it what I want for the team? And the answer is no, right? Like, there's a difference between what would be fun and what's good for their long term. And I really want to see Jojo Pion. I could see a world where he's another year in academy. He's only turning 7. He just turned 17, actually. So he's just barely turned 17. That's fine. And give him another year with Tony top, and then you maybe put them in next year once Impact's gone for his military service. That's fine. I don't mind that. But I don't want to see them signing someone like Jensen, which is the rumor. I don't want to see them signing Jizuke again. In my mind, why sign Jizuke? If you're gonna go for the big money, go. Let's aim a little bit higher. Let's go for that Chovy. Let's go for something so dumb that like no one would ever consider it normally. Let's go for that. And if you don't get that, then you have one of the best prospects North America has had in years, and just put him up and put faith in him like they did in Danny, and it worked out.
Yeah, I think that should be the game plan. I think going for Chovy is like very ambitious, but also it's the kind of move that you need to make to really push yourself forward into the top 3 and stay there, right? The whole through the whole split. And if they get Chovy, incredible. I'm really excited to see what they would do with it, right? Because they clearly have an elite mid laner now, right? And Danny has shown that he is like an up and coming, probably elite talent. I'm not sure if you're allowed to say about that yet, considering he's only played like for a split. And
he reminded me a lot of Tactical's first split. Like where he just popped off a couple games and everyone was speaking very highly of him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's gonna be very interesting to see that that first spring with Danny and Ignar like coming again. Do they have that same type of magic, and can they bring that same excitement out of the bot lane? But I totally agree with you, Mike. I think picking up a younger roster, like bringing up Jojo Pion, would be like the best course of action for them to go forward, because then you can continue to have this this core of EG talent that is also from a dumb thing to say, but like from a marketing standpoint, you can now prop up these 2 young players as like, we are EG, right? Like, we came from the development side. We're here. We're popping off. We're here to make NA like scary, right? Like,
yeah.
And so.
And I'm pretty sure EG just bought them both off of Zenith anyway.
Zenith is like,
Zenith is
like. Have to remember, they are the original
OGs.
Team.
I would love to do a video piece one day on like the history of amazing Zenith players, or just a normal content piece, because it is the most under talked about org in League of Legends. Honestly, like the amount of them in NA League of Legends, at least the amount of insane players that have come from there is amazing. But
and you got to make sure that you put in there the history of their year in House Wars, Game House's tournament, where I also almost bought the entire team.
So, in other words, you pretty much scouted Jojo Pion.
So what you're saying is that we are looking for residuals. Okay, understood.
Of course. No, I'm kidding. Although I did have that talk with them. They that that team has been creating talent for forever. I mean, seriously, if you want to watch an amateur team that's not directly related to the LCS, Zenith always has some of the best talent. I actually can't believe that they don't get more of their like head coaches and scouting department actually hired more often. I know I would, but
Well, I mean, now that I don't think they have a team anymore after they bought out that roster, I'm pretty sure
it's
Zenith is
possible.
gone, which is it's sad, very sad. So we're seeing the last generation of Zenith talent, but like honestly, the rest of the roster I'm fine with. Ignar, I don't think anyone. I think he played
Always
great
solid.
last split.
Yeah.
Inspired is the current jungle rumor. I'm fine with that. I also have been saying all along, I'm fine with contracts another year. I don't want to see Svenskeren though. I could see a world for contracts. I think it's not likely. It would take something falling through, but that is on the table. But yeah, Inspired would be great though.
You want to hear the best roster that they could ever field, in my opinion?
TSM Evil Geniuses.
Oh.
That would be cool. But Ignar, let's start from the bottom. Ignar, Danny, Jojo, Kenvi, Tenacity.
Yeah. I don't disagree. That would be so much fun.
Like, take the money you're going to spend on Chovy and buy out Kenvi and Tenacity. I'm serious.
Be a legitimate, maybe not contender roster, but that'd be like a very, very scary young team.
You put them under Peter Dunn to like learn, right? And you have Ignar basically be that voice of reason. I know that it's all young talent, but like Kenvi and Tenacity already have a good back and forth. Jojo and Danny have already played together. They would be. You could literally sign them to these new 4-year contracts, and that team would be easily. Because then here's what happens, right? Let's say one of them doesn't work, right? Like let's pretend that Jojo doesn't work. Whatever, you still have 3 who did work, right? Like it's not a huge stretch to just say like, okay, after a year you've seen them, who's actually truly top tier talent, right? And they all have contracts that go through 2022 anyways. So I'm just saying, like, if there's a team that's going to do it, they already have 2 of the pieces that you need for this, this academy super team. And you allow somebody like Ignar, I actually wouldn't even mind if they traded for Aframu because he seems to be like the best at developing young talent.
Yeah.
And you trade Ignar to somewhere else, and you put that roster together. And I think that it would be one of the scariest rosters in the LCS by 2023 and probably for the next few years afterwards. And that's how you build a roster, in my opinion, that does well at Worlds, by the way. Is you find the best NA talent, and if you keep 3 of them, that means you can import the other 2 and not worry about it.
What I will say, though, is I think that may hurt EG's talent pipeline. I'm not saying that they couldn't then sell those players, but you have 2 players who I think people should be keeping an eye on in EG Academy right now in the form of Tomio, their jungler, and Tony Top. And so you have these 2 players who maybe in a year are LCS level. Tony Top, I think a little bit more than Tomio, but I think they're both at that level where they could be. Tony Top's like a old Hooney style player, int hard or win hard. Tomio's a pretty aggressive jungler. So that's what I like. If you go for that jungle top, then you got to find a new spot for those guys probably next year, because I think they're going to be the Kenvi and Tenacity. I agree. But I'm saying though, that if the like what you envisioned for EG was once Impact's gone, we're going to put Tony Top up in, and then we're going to let's see how Inspired goes. Maybe we'll give Tomio another year. Maybe we move on from Tomio. Maybe we sell him. Maybe we do what. But like, if that's your idea and you're building this long-term pipeline with that idea in mind, I'm not sure how willing you would be to buy out that younger talent from another org instead of developing it yourself.
Well, I will tell you this much. If they do get Inspired, it doesn't matter, because he will end up being the best jungler. And this is coming from me. He would be the best jungler in NA.
Yeah, better than that trash player Spica for sure.
Hey, I know one person. I know one person at TGH who actually thinks that Spica's bad.
Is it Mark?
Is it me?
Oh. All right. Do you think that Spica's bad?
No.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say. I was like, why are you asking about yourself then? Because you definitely never said that to me.
All right. We got 2 more
Fuck,
teams here. Let's knock them out nice and quick. I've held you guys long enough. We'll do Dignitas, and then we'll end with FlyQuest. So Dig is kind of weird. Apparently, they want to build around Fake God and Neo is the current plan. I said this earlier. I can't fathom why anyone would want to build around Fake God. I don't think he's good. He has not shown me anything to the contrary. And he had the worst game in LCS history, top gap wise. So
I will go on the record to defend Fake God. I actually thoroughly enjoyed watching him this year, despite some of the more blundery games. I thought he was relatively solid for a team that really should have been stomped this year. Coming into this, I don't think Dignitas was really rated that highly. I mean, Afro obviously perennial all star. I love him so much. I didn't know much about Neo. I didn't know much about Fake God. Dardoch, what a coin flip he could be, and it ended up being, landing on tails at the end of it all. So Dig really surprised me, and I really think it came off of the back of Fake God and Neo, coming through
Yep.
and being those young, talents that, came like they surprised people and they led the team to wins. I think Neo did a little bit more slash a lot bit more than Fake God did, but I think that's where they really want to make these kind of like building blocks start from. And when from a team building perspective, I don't hate that. I especially love keeping Neo. I think Neo is great. I I personally like Fake God. I know some people don't. I'm not against this way of rebuilding, to be honest.
would you rather them maybe go for like one of the other like top laners though that are doing all right in academy, or would you say this is like a player who you've seen enough, you think is stable enough that even in worst case they just play in perma weak side, which really kind of isn't his style? Like that's fine, that's acceptable. Or do you see it more as like if they're not playing around this guy, then this team is going to be awful?
I think that they can they had a lot of problems with stability between the jungle and mid. So when that top side of the map ended up being like really bad for Fake God, I think that's when it really came through. I think Acadian helped when he came in because he looked great. Um, I think playing towards Fake God is probably the best way for them. Um, Most because I think Fake Out does have that more um, that champion pool that favors more resources, right? His weak side games weren't phenomenal. I know he was on Gnar for a lot of the split, which
Yeah, Narwanect and GP were his
unfortunate.
biggest three, I think.
Yeah. So maybe when they kind of give him more of those looks, right, and get him off of side lane GP, get him into something that's a little more proactive, I think that's might be an angle they take. And I think Dig should. I think they should see what they got, and then after the split, maybe the spring split, they say, you know what, it's not what we were looking for, or like that's not what we thought we had in him, or we didn't think he could. We thought he could do something that he didn't do, and we'll move on. But for right now in this off season, I do like keeping Fake God for the moment.
Do you think you should? I sorry to keep pressing you, but
Oh no, you're good.
do you think that they should, have a backup in their academy system that you think maybe midway through the year he's just not doing well and that they could do like they
Yeah, yeah. I think I honestly I firmly believe all teams should have something like that. Competition breeds better competitions and better competitors, right? If
Mm-hmm.
there's a debate where you want your player to be comfortable being in that starting spot, like because if you constantly have someone like looming over you, right, you can have that that feeling of like maybe like at any point I can get benched. Like the best competitors will drive and continue to be like, I will never get benched, but you know why? Because I'm always gonna be better than this person. But
that also
if
does
you're
create some hostility though. I mean,
it does, and
Yeah,
it
but
could.
like
it's balancing that though. Yeah.
that's where
Yes.
esports has to get over it, though. I'm sorry, but like people are all worried. Oh well, you might be pressuring them too much. Like guys, like that's how you keep your jobs. That's how you don't get teams like CLG
Yeah.
who just rest on their laurels. Like you need to have players. I'm not talking about the current players of CLG, by the way,
No,
right
no.
there. I'm talking about the team. I think that I think healthy competition's fine. I think every team should do what TSM did this last year, where they had replacements for the two players that they had the biggest question marks about.
Yeah.
And I think that there's nothing wrong with having the veteran players there, because then you also tell them, hey, if you can show me that you can help coach these other players, right?
You'll have
And
a job.
you'll have a job. Yeah. Like, I mean, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, if they were to get like even a Jenkins, right, to be the backup for Fake God, and tell him, hey, like you're gonna have some time, right? Like, I wouldn't be against that. Now, while
I think
did
Jenkins would be a great backup, honestly.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think he'd be perfectly fine. And I'll say this much too: while I did not initially have Fake God on my roster, it's because I got him and Saligo confused. Saligo's about to turn 24 or 25. So it
Really?
makes sense that, yeah. I was
Wow.
really shocked when I saw that this last
He
year.
looks so young.
He does. He looks like a baby.
Oh my
But yeah,
god.
Fake God's not even going to be 22 until May. So he's got another split at being still considered young. I think anything below 23 now is considered young in the LCS. So,
Which is kind of
mean-
sad, but yes.
I mean, it's just the way it works. Until we see a player actually make it through to 30 who's not Lemon Nation, I think that's. I mean, I'm just being honest. So
But you had a
so
yeah.
for
I love Lemon.
I mean, I think Fake God deserves his chance. He played well when given resources. He played well, I think, despite the team's struggles elsewhere. And having Dardoch as their, having all the resources, right? And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be against him staying up there. I say give him a chance. If he doesn't work out, then do something in the middle. That's where I think, by the way, the beautiful thing about, which I know everybody's like, oh, I'd rather them reset into the spring, right? Like, if your team at least just does mildly, now that there's 18 playoffs, right? Which I still don't think should exist, but now that 8 teams make it, you can have that system to where you struggle at the beginning of the year, and guess what? You can make those changes mid-season still and not worry about it.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I'm cool with them. I actually had Someday going there because I think it'd be a really cool story for him to end his career, most likely because of military service. I believe is coming up in the next 2 years with Dignitas, where he started back in the LCS. I actually had contracts going here too, and Insanity, while they kept Neo and Afromu. So
I don't think Afromu's staying.
I don't know why. He and Neo were so good.
The current rumor mill is suggesting that Afromu's gone. Which, if we're done talking about Dignitas, brings me into a FlyQuest prediction.
Yep.
Johnson and Afromu are returning in the bot lane. The lovers reunite. Zaya Rakan in the bot lane together.
It's not
What
much
are
of
your
a prediction.
thoughts?
Come on, Travis put that out there today.
I had that out on the FlyQuest article, the best article ever. I'm allowed to toot my horn. You're not allowed to toot yours. It's my show.
No, I'm sure.
I know. I'm messing with you too. But honestly, though, I am totally down for that. I think that's the best move FlyQuest could possibly make in regards to their bot lane.
I couldn't agree more. Johnson was actually really good, and then he had a weird season last year where I don't think it was his fault. I had them like bringing up Tomo because I also think he's very good, honestly, and I think he deserves an LCS spot, to be honest. But if Afromu's coming back to FlyQuest, then Johnson makes a ton of sense.
For sure.
And that's actually a pretty solid start of a roster with NXI, Takui, Johnson, and Afromu. That's a team that could be very much like Dignitas Spring last year and surprise some people.
Yeah.
I don't know who they're going to get for the top lane, but...
On your piece, you have Finn. Do you really think CLG is going to let Finn go?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I thought there was a world where they could keep Finn. They could get rid of Finn, and specifically, it was Rob's thing that made me consider the thought of Finn leaving. I was like, and going to Fly. I was like, it's possible. I think someday to Fly is a lot more likely than someday to Dig. But like my thing is also, that like Johnson's and like a lot of people I think lost faith in him last year. Did anyone see how bad not the trash people, but how bad Diamond played that spring split? It was awful. Honestly one of the worst supports I've seen in the LCS.
It's probably sadly going to be his one and only chance. I don't see him coming back up.
He
anywhere.
floundered that so
he's gonna
hard.
have to, yeah, he's gonna have to really impress an academy.
And to be fair to Diamond,
guys, again, it's too late. Honestly, guys, he's 25 or 26.
He's old.
Like people do not realize that, and I hate to use that.
Yeah,
I hate it. I hate that age.
The age discrimination is such a big
deal
deal in League, but it's genuinely true.
Hey, if Odo can do it, Odo's 27, right?
Yeah, but Odo's also good.
There are special players. Yeah. To be fair, there are very few players like Core JJ, Bjergsen,
Flame,
Doublelift,
or Flame, however that the guy. Flame. It was Flame. Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of players I think that can play into the older age because they just get burned out on the game more than anything else. Afromoo's a lot older too, but I think that he has found his way of being like this guy who sticks around and makes all these younger players better. I think he's in a similar vein.
I mean, even the most famous player in the world, Faker.
Yeah,
Faker's
he changed
getting
his
up
style.
there.
And that's what you have to do. Like we see it. I hate to make too many sports ball references, which I haven't really in this show, but it happens in baseball, right? I think this is a really good comparison because they're both games that require a lot of genuine skill, right? In terms of hand-eye coordination. Okay. When your hand-eye coordination starts to go as a baseball player, you become more of a player who focuses on picking your spots and just having a better general knowledge of the game than somebody else. Right. And I think that there are players like Faker, like we have seen, who have made that adjustment. Maybe his actual mechanics aren't as strong as some of the other mid laners. But guess what? He knows the game better than probably almost anybody else that is on Summoner's Rift when he is playing with them, right? Yeah. And so he's able to play that role to allow his teammates to be better because of the knowledge that he has and the understanding that he has of the game. There is no way that T1 team should have made it as far as it did. But they did because they have a lot of good talent, and he was allowed to.
They have the best bot lane in the world. The main reason.
I remember when people were like, I don't know why you'd have Gumayushi in the top 15 at Worlds. Huh?
Yeah, totally wasn't me. I own that. That was a big mistake. I mean, to be fair, though, the results did back what I said. The current results for T1 till that point proved me right.
Maybe. But then again, they gave Gumayushi Aphelios, I think, every game.
Yeah, that was actually trolling. I can't fathom it.
It was big troll. But but so regardless, my point is that the older players can make it, but when you have somebody who's like Diamond, who hasn't been in the league long enough to actually have that knowledge, and he's playing a position that you don't need as many mechanics in already, it's just tough.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think I actually have Ayla coming up from Team Liquid Academy. I really liked what he had to do, or what he did this last year. I think if you're going to go with somebody who's maybe a little bit older, but also still available, Ayla looks good. But I mean, if they can get Aphromoo, I love FlyQuest Aphromoo. They do such a good job marketing. Can you imagine FlyQuest?
That would be
Aphromoo. Yeah, I think
incredible.
Those two just go together. Afro and Fly just to me makes perfect sense. It seems like a move that I think Trisha's her name would absolutely eat up.
Great.
Yeah, she and I don't know, man. Aphromoo is still one of the few players I can look at and say this guy has not fallen off in the slightest, in my opinion.
I mean, he's fallen off from his MVP.
Well, yeah, from his MVP, but outside of that, I mean, but you can't be MVP forever. You can't always play at that level. Not everyone can be.
That's what you think.
Yeah. Right. Watch Showmaker's gonna play for 80 years.
Might do that.
All right,
don't put on the mask. The copium's coming through.
I'm telling you right now that he will be in MVP discussions by the end of the year.
No, Bjerg probably comes down to stomps, especially if a lot.
I don't think he does right away. I don't think he does right away, but I do think by the summer.
But the one thing
we saw it at Worlds.
I know
we did.
I was so happy.
Takui is the
we do need to talk about him.
FlyQuest mid laner coming out of the LFL. I have not seen a single game from this person, but they won the MVP for LFL. So that can only mean good things.
Yeah, his stats I put in my article were crazy for a 7th place team. It's a lot of. It reminds me a lot of Alphari stats. When you looked at them on paper coming in, you're like, oh well, they're good. But then you looked at them in comparison to the 10th place team that they were, and you're like, what? How the like, how did that work? Like, how did he
Held
do
back.
that on this team, right? I did hold it back, but it reminds me a lot of that. And I think if you're going to go for like a young prospect like that, this is great. And I'm surprised though, of all the teams that got him, like a player like this, I would have assumed it was, some sort of EU team would have got him, but FlyQuest did. And I think that's going to say a lot more about their roster this year and how they view themselves to be as like some sort of competitor in the next coming years. I think this is the player Fly is going to build around like for the next few. And I think him and NXI, which is Travis specifically did not mention a jungler, I believe, but I see no other option. Yeah, NXI is really, really good too. That is a great two core to have on this team. And let's just say Johnson and Afro bomb. All right, there you go. You still have two players for midseason or next year that you could build around that have a lot of potential. And even if NXI bombs and Johnson and Afro continue to play great, like, all right, you have this future. And I want to see a coach specifically that knows what he's doing and has a multi-year plan and expressly states it. That is what happened with Immortals. That's what happened with EG. Like, once Peter Dunn arrived, like they said, yeah, we want to promote from within. We want to like keep building up. We want to do all of this. Here's our plan. We're going to build around. Even Golden Guardians do the exact same thing. Like they were very blatant in what they wanted to do in 2021. I want to see that with this team.
I will be honest with you. I think the only reason Takui wasn't picked up sooner is because he's going to be 21 by the end of the spring split.
I don't care.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I think for the LEC, if you're not an 18, 19-year-old stud, don't get picked up right away. I think this may end up being one of the best signings because let's be honest here. We've talked about a lot of mid laners, right, coming into the LCS. One of the things I think FlyQuest is always worried about is that their best players are going to get poached because they can't match people in terms of the money right now.
2020 roster.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that's where I'm looking at this pickup and I'm like, oh my God, like this is genius because he's young enough. Which is crazy to say about somebody who's only about to turn the legal drinking age, at least here in the US. And he is somebody who I think is, you can't do that. You can't do that one. Oh God.
I'll blur it.
It's fine. Oh God.
You had to say drinking. I'm sorry. It's too easy of a joke.
That's fine. But like the thing I will say is like this kid is really good. I remember I was looking at him, I believe, for my fantasy team this summer, and I was like, oh man, he could be like somebody who I could pick up, later on. His stats are always really good on bad teams. He could be like he could make this FlyQuest team a dark horse. And I think like to round all of this out, guys, like I don't know that there's going to be a terrible team in the LCS outside of maybe sadly CLG again.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see a 2021 level CLG again this year.
But the thing I will say is I think that's the way that the LCS is trending though. I mean, EG, TSM, and even potentially Golden Guardians could have gone to Worlds and not been complete trash. I'm just going to be honest. Like
I agree on everything but GGS. I think Immortals. Well, Immortals. Didn't the Immortals make it through? Not Golden Guardians. They won that BO5.
No, I think Golden Guardian.
No, it was Immortals Dig, right? It wasn't. Yeah, it was Immortals Dig, and then it was
like
and then it was EG Immortals, or was it? I mean,
regardless, at least 5 teams, right? Like EG, TSM, C9, 100 Thieves, and TL are all good enough to have played well at Worlds.
Yeah,
truly. I mean, especially with what we saw this year. And it seems like the LEC is actually having some pretty major issues right now.
I mean, when we take all their good players, to be fair, as you know how much I hate, I have my nice nationalistic pride for my NA teams, even when they're all imports like 100 Thieves. But like, I kind of feel bad if I'm a GM of a LEC team right now, because I just see the offers that NA are putting out just due to our market being generally better for advertising and it's better for sponsorships. And these teams are able to get better investments due to that and able to generate more cash and then say, hey, we're willing to put this much money into someone. How are you supposed to compete with that? And like the only team that really can is G2. Fnatic's in money trouble, and Vitality, obviously. But like apparently, and maybe no one really knows about BDS yet. I don't really know how much money they're willing to spend.
Yeah, that's a.
I don't know. Who knows? But like the point is though, Nat, like you have all these players that are coming to NA, and we're just yoinking all their good talent. We're starting to even yoink their prospects, and then you even have internal competition with like the French leagues that are doing amazing now and getting all these viewerships. If I'm a French person who's really good at League of Legends, sure, I might want to go to the LEC, right? But like, I mean, you have really competitive offers there too, you know? Yeah. And it's like, so would you rather be on a first or second place LFL team, or would you rather be on the 10th place LEC team? Like, genuine question there. What would you want to do?
You're talking about LCS,
right? What? Sorry.
LCS?
No, LEC. No, like if you're having someone like in the French league, right? Why would you want to be on the 10th place LEC team and possibly tank your career when you could stay in the French league and get first or second? Sorry. Like, genuine question there. Like, and the contracts are getting up there too.
You're talking about the Peter Dunn tweets, right? Where he was referring to like how the LEC should, I think it was him who was saying like the LEC should be trying to like really hype up the LCS like amateur scene and stuff because of the fact that they're losing so many players to NA.
And like, and of course I don't blame the players for coming to NA. I mean, you got to get, like, esports only lasts so long. You got to get the money. But like, it really does suck through a GM perspective, or even just coach, or even a player perspective. The competition just seems to be just getting outbidded every year. I don't know. I just think it's interesting in the long run.
Yep, I agree.
All right. Well, I think we rambled on long enough. That was plenty long. I might cut it into 2 bits. We'll see. But regardless, thank you very much for watching. I'll hopefully be back in whenever you see this, like 1 to 2 weeks. And I think by that point, most of the LCS rosters and LEC rosters will be confirmed, along with probably some LCK and LPL. But regardless, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment and a like, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Later.